Hi everyone, so October is ADHD Awareness Month, so I thought I would pop on and talk about my experience with ADHD and getting diagnosed. In true ADHD fashion, I am recording this at the end of the month, although to be fair, I've been really busy with college, which is going well thankfully. But I got diagnosed when I was 19 at the end of 2020. It was something I suspected for a while. The kind of thing that led me to looking for a diagnosis was actually a Netflix show called Atypical. It's mostly about a teenage autistic boy and kind of how he deals with the likes of school and like going to college and stuff. I mean, I don't think it's the best representation of autism. There's definitely better shows that I would recommend, but while I was watching it, I realised I didn't really actually know much about autism, so I decided to try and educate myself, and was googling autism. And obviously, like, when you're googling, like, there's other like suggestions that come up, and one of which was autism in women, and I was intrigued. I didn't think that there was a difference. There is, and I was reading kind of through the kind of traits that are more seen in kind of females that are autistic, and I was kind of reading them and I was like, some of these do sound like me, but I kind of brushed it off. I was like, oh no, like if I was autistic, surely I'd know by now. A spoiler, yeah, I did get an autism diagnosis almost a year ago actually, but I kind of brushed it off. I was like, oh, I'm probably overthinking that. But one of the things that also was coming up was ADHD in women, because obviously autism and ADHD are like really closely linked. It's quite common to have both. And as I was reading through like the kind of traits of ADHD in women, it sounded exactly like me. Like everything just explained my entire life essentially. And the more I kind of read into it, the more I was kind of reading online. I was watching so many TikToks about others' experiences about like having ADHD, and especially those that were like late diagnosed. And the more and more I watched, the more things started making sense for me. And like my entire life, like especially during my teenage years, like I was constantly asking myself like, what's wrong with me? I constantly felt like there was just something wrong. Like my brain was different and I could never explain why or how. And like I felt like I couldn't exactly just go to my doctor and be like, my brain's different, that's all I've got for you. They probably would have looked at me really weirdly. So when I finally kind of had those words and realized, oh, that's what I was feeling, there isn't anything actually wrong with me, it was the best feeling ever. And it was September of 2020 and I had to go to my like GP anyway, so I decided to bring it up. He was quite condescending about it. I'll never forget, like, he was like, why do you think that? I came prepared. I had like in my notes section on my phone like the reasons why like I thought I had ADHD, and like I gotten the list from like the HSE. Like I was trying to make sure that it was somewhere that was at least reliable, that like my GP isn't going to kind of think that like I was kind of making it up or whatever. And I was going through the list, I was giving examples, everything. He cut me off. He was quite rude about it, and he was like, yeah, but you got good grades in school. And I was like, that has nothing to do with this. Like I got relatively good grades in school, but I did not study. I like did my homework and that was it. I could not concentrate in class. I couldn't concentrate to study. I kind of just winged it. And he just kind of dismissed a lot of the things that I struggled with, which was really frustrating. But he's not qualified to actually diagnose me, so he couldn't say yes or no. So he kind of was like, oh, here's somewhere like to go and actually get assessed. So I contacted this place that has like it's a few psychologists that kind of do assessments and stuff, and had booked to go get assessed. So the first like little meeting or whatever with the psychologist, it was just an hour long kind of interview. So kind of just asked me questions, mostly kind of in relation to ADHD, and just kind of ruling out like other kind of possibilities that like a lot of the kind of traits are kind of similar with other things. I know one of the things that he was ruling out was dyspraxia. So kind of just like having it like an hour long chat. He was an amazing psychologist. He was really nice. I felt quite comfortable talking to him, thankfully. So after that, he was like, it's kind of broken up. So it was like meant to be 4 hours in total, but the way that he kind of did it was an hour interview, just to kind of make sure that it's like looking like it is ADHD and not something else, and making sure it's worthwhile going through with the rest of the 3 hours. So at the end of that, he was happy enough for me to like continue on, although it was like a separate appointment. So about a month later, I came back for the 3 hours. It was a lot of like psychological kind of testing and stuff. It was a long 3 hours. There was loads of different like puzzles and stuff that I was made to kind of do, like different blocks, and like given a picture and like, you know, recreate that with the blocks. And they progressively got harder and harder, and I was timed and everything. Like it was quite intense, to be honest. I was also, before that appointment, like I was given 2 questionnaires, very, very long questionnaires. One was kind of just my mental health in general, and the other one was more specifically to do with ADHD. So I had to fill out those, which took me quite a while. I also had to bring my mum along with me, so like the psychologist kind of chatted with my mum for, I think it was about an hour or only a few minutes or something, just to kind of see like what I was like kind of growing up, and like what she kind of noticed during my childhood and stuff. Because obviously kind of one of the criteria is that these traits have been present kind of since before the age of 12. So kind of just making sure that that was the case for me. And yeah, so I did like 3 hours of these little like tests. One of the ones that I will never forget, well, there's a few that I'll like never forget, but one of them was, it was just like the words like red, green, blue, kind of just like in a random order, loads, like across a few lines. And I had to read them from left to right as fast as I can without making a mistake. It's like, okay, that's fine. Next page, it's the squares, and they have the colour of red, green and blue in random order, and I have to like say the colour of the squares from left to right as fast as I can. It's like, okay, that's fine. Next page. It was, so the word red, say, was in the colour blue, and I had to say the colour of the word and not the word from left to right as fast as I can. And I was like, okay, surely that's the end of it. Next page. Next page, it was kind of the same, except some of the words had like a little like rectangle around them. And instead of saying the colour of the word, I had to say the word for the ones in the rectangles. So it kind of alternated and do it from left to right as fast as I could. And that was not particularly fun. There was also like other ones where I had to, it was like you were in like an elevator, and like when it like pinged, it meant like you'd gone up a floor or whatever, and you had to keep track what floor you're on. But each level got harder and harder. So like at the end of it, there was also another beep that was happening at the same time that was like it needed maintenance or something. I don't know. But it was like different toned beeps, and like they meant different things. And at that point I was just guessing. Like it was quite intense, but it was definitely worth it. I just remember being at the end of the assessment and kind of just like, I had no idea what had just happened. But it wasn't too bad. And it was definitely worth it, because like 10 days before Christmas, on the 15th of December, like my psychologist had confirmed that I had ADHD. And that was like the best Christmas present I'd ever received, because it answered so many things for me. And yeah, it was just kind of, it was nice knowing that there wasn't anything wrong with me, and that my brain was just wired differently. And then I like wanted to try ADHD meds. Now psychologists can't prescribe meds, only a psychiatrist can. So I asked my psychologist to recommend a psychiatrist, and it was about another year afterwards that I ended up making the appointment with the psychiatrist. And I think I waited about 6 months to actually go finally see him. So I saw him only the end of 2022, and he kind of did his own little assessment with me, and he was kind of happy enough to kind of trial me on ADHD meds. It was kind of very much like up to me, like which med I kind of tried, and kind of how I felt after each dose and stuff. Like it's about a year since I've kind of started ADHD meds, and I've only kind of, I'm actually getting to the right med and dosage for me. It does take quite a while. I mean, some people are lucky and kind of find the right med and dose pretty quickly. For others, it can take a while. But yeah, I was very lucky also with my psychiatrist. He is absolutely amazing, and he really encouraged me to actually express myself through art, because he was asking what kind of hobbies I like and stuff, and I really enjoy art, so he really encouraged me to do that. So I've made like a few pieces like over the past year, kind of trying to explain what it's like inside my brain, which is a very hard task to actually do. It's really hard to actually explain what it's like inside my brain. But he kind of really encouraged me, and I really enjoy kind of showing him the different pieces that I make, and he seems to always enjoy like getting to see them. But yeah, so I started ADHD meds, and kind of especially since like this past month that I've actually like been in college and decided to go back, and honestly, like the main reason I decided to go back to college is because my psychiatrist. It wasn't something that he had necessarily suggested. Sorry, my dog is like just behind me there. But yeah, I kind of was looking back at my life and kind of reflecting, and kind of said, actually, I think I want to go back to college. I had tried it before, but trying to wing college, it's not something that really works that well. So like I had gone to university for like less than a year, and then I dropped out around when the pandemic had hit. So yeah, I decided to go back, and this past month, like it's been so obvious how much the ADHD meds have actually helped, and like it's been fantastic. Like I'm so surprised the difference in myself when I do have the meds and stuff. Now obviously meds aren't for everyone. Like, it is completely up to each individual, like if they want to try meds or not. But personally for me, like, they have helped me so much. And yeah, like, I'm so thankful that I went through and got assessed and got my diagnosis. But at the same time, I am aware that I am very privileged that I have gotten a diagnosis, because it isn't the easiest thing to actually do. And realistically, the private route is unfortunately the really only way of getting a diagnosis. Trying to go through the public route is like almost impossible, really. If they accept you, it also is a massive wait time as well. So private is unfortunately like the main way to go, and is very expensive. So yeah, I am quite privileged that I have gotten a diagnosis, but it has like really helped me over the past while, and has really changed my perspective on myself and life as a whole. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about kind of ADHD and like my experience and stuff, feel free to ask in the comments below, and thank you for watching.